Good afternoon, Demonfield Comics More New Jersey here, and I've got another interview for you today as well. And we're going to have some fun on this one, get some information out there, and have a blast doing so. We've been having so much fun so far. Why quit now? I mean, we're having a blast. Just keep the tempo going here. So I'm definitely going to keep doing that. We'll get into who I'm going to be having as a guest here in just a moment. What I'd like to do right now is, as normal, if you're in here and you can see and hear me, if you'll go ahead and comment, leave a comment in here, letting me know that you can and everything's okay on that end. And then also, if you will share this out, please share it out. Let's try to get a good sized audience in here. And we'll try to get to as many people as we can live. If you're watching this afterwards, hey, good, great, and wonderful. We appreciate that as well. Have no problem at all there. But we want to see if we can catch as many people as we can live with this so that you can ask them questions if you want to and interact with my guests. I have plural guests today. So there was one that I had listed. It has become two. And no, he didn't split atoms. It's actually two different people. So waiting for, we've got a couple of people in here. If anyone that's in here that can hear me or see me, go ahead and let me know in the comments, please. And I hope everyone is having a great day and staying safe and being somewhat productive. And while we're doing that, I'm just kind of working on my end, getting some things going over here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start into my part of it here. So again, Demonfield Commerce and More New Jersey. I am here with yet another interview, and we'll go ahead and thank our sponsors for the show because I am so excited to say we have sponsors, and we do. So this is great. So I'm going to go ahead and thank them. First off, we have Totally Rad Comics. Thank you very much for being a sponsor to the show. We have Sub-Zero Mission. Everybody knows this is huge with me because this is actually one that actually saves lives. So you definitely need to be a part of this or find out about it. Support, share, promote, whatever you got to do. Information is always on my page about them. If you need any more information, reach out to me. I'll be glad to give it to you. Codex Entertainment. We have Third Empire, which, if I'm not mistaken, Greg Harms is here. Greg, thank you for being here, buddy. Yeah, Third Empire is a sponsor of our show, and proud to have them on here with that. So again, thank you for being sponsors. In the next, depending upon how the Postal Service is working with this, it'll probably be 3 to 4 weeks. I should be having a banner behind me, which will actually showcase, who's actually sponsoring me, which is going to be pretty nice because it'll be official and be able to show that off. So, all right, we're ready to get going with this. So let me go ahead and take the banner off of here so we can see a little bit better. So today my guest is actually Michael Oden, who has a crowdfunding project that's going on right now on Indiegogo, and we're going to get into that here in just a moment. But also, I not only have Michael Oden, but I have Luke Stone here as well, because Luke, if I'm not mistaken, did the lettering on this project as well. So on Indiegogo, there is a project that is called Elysian Fields. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the link up here real quick so that you have that. And you can go look at that while we're going ahead and bringing them up. But there is the link. It is also, whenever you clicked on this video, whether it was Facebook or YouTube, that link is actually embedded in there as well. So just go look for that, click on it, it'll take you directly to it. So you can kind of take a look and see what's going on as I'm going ahead and bringing them in here. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring Michael Oden in here.
Woohoo!
Appreciate you being here, Michael.
Thanks for having me on. You're doing me the favor.
Hey, absolutely. You've got a great project, and we're going to get into that and everything and talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my other guest on here, which is Luke Stone.
Woohoo!
Hey, how's everybody going?
Champion.
All right, so we've got you both on here. For those who don't know who you are, I want to kind of go around this and give you a chance to go ahead and say your piece on this and who you are. So let's go ahead and start with you. Michael, we're going to give you the full screen on here. If you'll go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Michael Oden. I am the creator and writer of Elysian Fields. Right now, we have our Indiegogo up, which Phil so kindly has up on the screen right now. And so that's one of the best places to find us and get updates about everything. We also have our Twitter, which is at Elysian Fields _0. And that's another good place to follow us for updates. We're working on getting a Facebook established for the publishing imprint Nine Realms Publishing LLC, which will be my publishing company. But I'm going to turn it over to Luke.
All right, so we're going to go to you, Luke. So who are you? What do you do, and how do we find you?
Well, I have been trying to figure out the answers to those questions for a long time now. So my name is Luke Stone. You can find me at lukestonestudios.com. I do a lot of things when it comes to comic books. I actually am the project manager for a company called Starcross Comics. I run my own art studio, Luke Stone Studios, where I do everything from pencils and inks to colors to letters to even some story editing and things like that. So I do just a little bit about everything. I produce my own book called Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, which is, we can plug that later if there's time. But I want to focus on the Elysian Fields project that I'm working on right now with Michael Oden. I am the letterer for that. So I get to kind of help out with the finishing. And there's some really cool art and some really cool story going on there. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I want to go ahead and say right now, I apologize, Luke, for not having you on earlier with all of this. And I had forgotten that you were actually a part of this project until I was speaking with Michael, and he mentioned about you being the letterer. And I was like, well, we got to get him on here. It has to happen.
I'm a part of a lot of projects.
That's what I'm finding out. If that were the case, I would have you on here with most of my guests. So,
and I'm happy to do it.
The thing is that yesterday Luke messages me. He's like, "You do realize that I have a very large fan base and that you could be using me to help plug your books?" And I went, "I'm an idiot."
Well, I would say very large. I have a very dedicated fan base. I don't know about large, but dedicated. So,
yeah. But point being is, I was just like, he's run like 5 campaigns at this point. I should probably be mentioning him a lot more. And so I brought up to Phil, I was like, we could easily get Luke. Let me check and see if he's free, because I know it's Sunday and what have you, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't interfering with anything. So like I wanted to get you make sure that you were on here, because it would be nice to have somebody else to talk about a different side of the book that I talk about all the creative stuff and what have you, and it's nice to get feedback on what I'm doing. Make sure that I'm not making a complete idiot of myself. So that's why you're damage control.
Now, I know we've already decided that Luke said he was going to go ahead and do some drawing for us. So he's going to be doing that while we're going ahead and discussing some things. So I'm going to go ahead and put a full screen up here of the things he's going to be drawing. Sure. I don't even know what he's going to be drawing yet.
I don't either. We're going to figure it out together.
Surprise me.
All right.
Yeah. Michael had sent over a couple of pictures of some characters. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be the first time I've ever put my pen to use with drawing one of the characters from Elysian Fields, because I'm the letterer. All I do is words and bubbles. Like, that's it. That's sound effects too. So some of these I haven't seen before. So if you notice, I've got my phone here. I am pulling up a reference. And there's one particular character that really stands out to me. I think he looks pretty cool, and I believe his name's Enkidu.
Enkidu. Oh Enkidu. Man, you're gonna be doing. Oh, that's cool. I'm excited.
Big hairy dude with some horns, right?
Yeah, he is part bull, part man. He's from the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, well, okay, that's a lot of words there. You're saying. And here's the problem: I got to spell check all this stuff, Phil. You have no idea. It's like, holy crap! Like, what is this?
I am excited to see the finished product. I want to say about a week ago or so, Luke did a variant cover for our mutual friend Rob Anderson's. Cat Dad and Supermom, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I saw it and I was like, oh man, that's a great cover. If I had more money, I'd throw more at Rob's campaign to get that variant. It looks great. So I'm excited to see the finished result.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now I'm going to go ahead and ask a few questions while we're doing this, just kind of keep this moving and keep the flow going here. And plus I want to get to know y'all a lot more. So the first thing I want to ask is, and we'll go to Michael first on this one, is what were your comic inspirations growing up?
Oh man. So from a comic book standpoint, my inspirations were, the first superhero I ever learned how to draw and what have you was Spider-Man. Grew up loving the animated series. I had 2 older brothers, and so that was like when they were taking care of me, it would be like Spider-Man the animated series, X-Men, and then as I started to grow up and what have you, and branch out, I'm a really big fan of Captain America, and slightly a big part of my relationship with comics there, and I got really invested into collecting in high school around the time that it was around midway through the Ed Brubaker run, and Bucky had just started to take up the mantle as Captain America, and that's really what got me started. And I've always had this love for the for characters and everything like that, and for a long time I worked really hard to try and get into the main line, and it just every single time I'd either come close and just miss it, or I'd just get stonewalled altogether. And so I just decided, why not just do my own damn comic? And I figured now is the right time to do it, and here we are.
Oh yeah, and it does look great, and we're going to get into that one here very shortly as well. Now, Luke, I want to ask you the same thing. What was your comic inspirations growing up?
Well, there's a lot of them that's out there. I actually started drawing when I was about 3 years old. Funny story. So my mom and dad used to go to this little place called the Breakfast House in Kokomo, Indiana, of all places. And they would hang out with their friends every evening. And those hangouts would sometimes last until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Some people are like, wow, your parents kept a 3-year-old out till that late? Yes, they did. But there was something that they did that actually kind of paid off. In order to entertain myself, my mom would throw me a napkin and a pencil or a pen, and she would say, just draw. And so I just started doodling, scratching around. And eventually those doodles and scratches turned into something that looked like stick figures. And then I started putting clothes on stick figures and things like that. So I started drawing. But about 5 or 6 years old, my dad one day brought home some comic books that someone had given him from one of his coworkers gave him. He said, hey, I know your son likes to draw. He might like these. And it just so happened to be a couple of the issues of the Secret Wars that was produced in like 1983, 1985 in that area, and drawn by a guy named Mike Zeck. And so I saw these pictures, and the first cover that I saw was the one where you've got the Hulk with his arms extended, holding up all of this massive rock and earth, and all these heroes cowering under there, like they've been beaten. They know that they're going to die, but the Hulk, singularly the Hulk, was saving all of these other heroes that were just massive characters. And I was hooked. And so I tried to draw every panel, every page in that book until it was basically utterly destroyed. And then I just kept drawing from there. I would, I think people started worrying about me because I started wanting to draw these like Hulk-like characters. So I would get these muscle magazines and just draw these strong dudes, right? And they're like, Luke, you got something to tell us? I'm like, I'm good. We're good. It's for art. And they're like, yeah, that's what they all say. But, but I was like, whatever. I was into it, and so I would draw these, and I would just draw and draw and draw. And I would try to find, in all these pictures and just try to draw everything that I possibly could. And that's, and so from there I learned about Perez, loved Perez, found Jack Kirby, loved Jack Kirby stuff. Really started getting into some in the 90s, getting into the Todd McFarlane's, just we could just go on. But yeah, so they all just kind of inspired me to then want to try to create my own style and my own feel for comics.
Very nice. I mean, because that's the reason I asked that question, is because a lot of times you can see where it can kind of bleed into the work that you do, leading up to what we're going to now with the current projects and all, because Michael, we're going to go ahead and talk about and delve directly into Elysian Fields, because that is the current Indiegogo that's going right now. Yeah. So if you'll kind of tell us, what is Elysian Fields?
So Elysian Fields, I'm going to just go through the elevator pitch and expand from there. So the basics of it is fate shackled Achilles in life. In death, he was finally free until a mysterious calling took him from his peace, and he is forced to fight as a champion for Hades in a tournament that crowns the ruler of the underworld every 1,000 years. And so essentially what all is going on is that every 1,000 years, you have all these different global pantheons have their respective god of death vying for control of the underworld. And they do this by putting up teams of champions from their stories, from their myths. And so Achilles, we first see Achilles in the issue and it's right before he dies, and it's the 9th year of the Trojan War, and so he dies, and he gets to essentially his heaven where he's with Patroclus and what have you, and then all of a sudden he gets this weird sensation, and then he is now on the ferry of Charon, the ferry of men of the dead, and is on the river Styx and is getting dropped off at an arena. And that's really where we go from there, and where the series is going to have him on a team of 3 other heroes. We've got Theseus and Hades, Heracles on this team with him. And Theseus you get to see in the 0 issue. Heracles comes in a bit later. But the whole thing is them going through this and trying to get Hades his position back. There's some stuff going on in the background with Hades and his motivations and what have you. And I'm going to pause for a second because that Enkidu drawing just looks sick.
Yeah, I'm watching that too. Trust me.
like it's so cool, and like it's one of those things where, to me, it's kind of unreal because 3 months ago I had a script and really nothing else, and now I have a good chunk of the interior done, and Luke's drawing a piece of one of the characters in my book, and I'm just completely blown away. But yeah, no, like the whole thing revolves around this whole tournament, and we get to kind of explore the motivators of Achilles. And the thing that I'm really excited about doing is I've always been a huge classicist buff. I've talked a lot about how growing up, my dad read me the Iliad as a bedtime story, as this beautifully illustrated watercolor version of it, and I always loved those myths, and Achilles was my favorite character. And so every single time I've seen Achilles in media, it's always been this whole thing where it's like they either came really close and just missed the mark a little bit, or they've been completely just off. And so the big thing that I'm excited about is portraying this character in a way that I feel is authentic to who he is in the story. And it's going to be interesting because I'm looking forward to seeing people's reactions, because I feel that there are going to be a lot of people that are going into this expecting your standard kind of hero archetype from like a modern book perspective. And the fact of the matter is that Achilles was a hero from a completely different time period. Those people had completely different traditions and values to those that we hold today. And Achilles is going to come off as very brash and abrasive as a character, I feel. And there are going to be times where you're really rooting for him because he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch fight. His action scenes are going to be really cool. And there are going to be times where you kind of want him to get his ass kicked. Because like that was the whole thing. You read the Iliad, and it's this whole story about the rage of Achilles being this almost nuclear weapon.
Right.
Because like it starts off the book, and he gets into a minor dispute with Agamemnon over this slave girl Briseis, who was Achilles' prize given to him by the soldiers, and an Agamemnon is having to give away one of his prizes to appease Apollo. And so he said, well, you're making me do this, Achilles, so I'm taking away your toy. And so then Achilles' direct response is go to his immortal mother and have her beg to Zeus to make the Greeks lose every battle until they come begging for him to come back. Mm-hmm. And then, on the flip side, once Patroclus ends up dying, he now has a genuine motivator to hate Trojans. And so then you have on the flip side, Achilles' rage being directed actively towards killing people in the latter half of the book. And the things that he does in that latter half, it's just, oh my God. You're reading it, you're just like, oh man, this is just ridiculous.
So I don't know if Achilles would be fighting this guy or not. Mike, you can tell me that.
So he does and he doesn't. You'll see in like the first, like when you get your copy of the first, the lettering strip for the first issue, they do have Achilles does confront him, but it's not a direct fight. Enkidu mainly fights Theseus, and it happens mainly off panel because the focus of the big fights is Achilles versus Gilgamesh.
Okay. Oh my Gilgamesh. All right, so I'm just gonna have them confronting one another right now.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, it's just I've seen a lot of Achilles' arm. We haven't seen too much of his heel yet, but we've seen his arm. So
yeah, well, the heel's his weak point. I don't want to show that too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. How exciting would that be?
And that's also something that's going to be really exciting to play with the character. Is that one of the big elements is I'm going straight up full on myth for Achilles. So this is the version of Achilles that was dipped in the river Styx. And so when he was alive, he never, outside of when he died, he never got injured. And that's no longer the case because he died.
Right.
So this is there will come a point where he gets injured for the first time, and that's going to be a very unique experience for him. Because outside of the memory of him dying, he's never really experienced pain. So that'll be a very fun thing to play with.
Now, Luke, what was your biggest challenge as far as lettering for this, besides the spell checking?
That's a weird question. I've never been asked my challenges in lettering. This book's easy. This book's easy to letter. The dialogue is good. The pacing is good. It's not overrun with editorializing. I've had other books where it was like the hardest part was actually lettering it because it just bored the crap out of me. But this is pretty good. I mean, it's a good book. I mean, you guys are going to enjoy reading it. I haven't had really any challenge with lettering.
That makes me really happy. From the standpoint of I wrote and did a good chunk of the editing, what have you, and it's always just one of those things where Marcelo's art has been phenomenal, and I'm really happy with it, and it's so great because I've locked him down as our official artist of Elysian Fields, so he's going to be doing all the interiors and what have you, and the main covers of the books. But the big thing is obviously how my writing is going to do in living up to Marcelo's art. And so hearing that praise, Luke, it really, really does make me feel great. Puts a little bit of those nerves at ease. Because
I think people are going to enjoy it. Yeah.
That's obviously like my biggest worry right now is like we've gotten so much support on this campaign, and it's been super humbling as an experience. And the one worry I have is when the books come out and we start getting feedback, it's going to be like, I kind of want my money back.
Well, let me tell you this: there's always going to be somebody that's going to hate it. Yeah. Okay, and some people are just critics to be critics, and I've been doing independent comics now for 5-ish years. I've put out, let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've put out probably a little over a dozen comics. And not all of those are great. Your second issue is always, you feel more strongly about it than you do your first issue. Second issues are notoriously hard to write because it's a setup issue, and but then there's critics on every side of it, whether it be art or lettering or writing or colors or, I just don't like the way you did your title. And so I used to listen to every review that was made for my book. I would read all of them. I would listen to all of them, and I would let it just tear me up. Now, if people want to do a review, I let them, but I don't watch them. I don't read them. I don't care. I have an editor, and he tells me if it's going to be good or not, and so I let my editor tell me. And then my fans, the people that actually buy my book, they'll tell me if they like it or not, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, they normally tell me with their sales, with their dollars.
Yeah.
But I listen to them on that. And but for the most part, if someone wants to review the book, I want to do an interview with it. It's like, let's talk about it, especially since especially like with hybrids, there's so much growth from first issue to fifth issue and stuff like that. And you're going to experience the same thing.
And that's actually how Luke and I actually linked up initially was, he had reached out to me because he noticed that I was a new member of the industry. And then I ended up doing a review of hybrids, and I had gotten I had backed his project and gotten the first few issues along with his final one for that first arc of hybrids. And I was reviewing it for Up Your Geek. And I remember we talked about it. I was like, the first issue I had some issues with and what have you, because it felt like it was a little bit rushed. And then from second issue on, it just kept getting better and better. And this was something that I like by the end of issue 4, I was just ready for the 5th. I was like, let's.
I also remember you said, I'll let you look at it before I post it. And I'm like, I've had people do that. It's like, I'll let you review it before I post it. I'm like, just post whatever you think. Like, if you hate the book, let people know that you hate it, so they'll buy it to verify it.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. Is I feel like that's a professional courtesy. Yeah. I don't like it because I don't want people to think that I'm just gonna write the review and then I want people to realize that I'm going by what I say, because I usually and Luke can attest to this. I usually come back first with my initial thoughts, and then I to let them know hey, I really liked your book. This, that, or the other, and then I send them my my draft that I put out to my editor to be like, this is what I'm writing. Is everything okay here? Just to show that I am standing by what I said in my initial thing. And on top of that, I think it's really good in case there's any information that they want to add in for hey, they can also get the book here. I have had a few people that they have Indiegogos, but they also do have sites where they can sell back issues and everything. So I feel like it's a very useful thing to be to make sure that I have all of my information correct. And if they want to be so if you could mention that we have a campaign starting at this time, that would be really useful. And so that's my big thing. I feel like it's a very good professional courtesy that allows people to kind of get a little bit of the edge off if they are somebody that takes these reviews at heart. I know that I did a review for David Brinks. I did 2 reviews for David Brinks' projects. I did one for Perfect 10, and I did one for his book Dream Girl Sleeper Agents. And I know that he's very invested in the feedback that he gets on his books. And I know that he was a little bit nervous initially with Perfect 10 and getting his review. And when he read it, it gave him a nice little confidence boost, and his campaign's doing well. And I hope that my review had at least a small part in helping that out, because it was a great book. But yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes the review, it may only affect a handful of people, but as long as it's a positive effect that is going out there, or they at least go ahead and pay attention to it a little bit more, it's a handful more people that you didn't have before.
Exactly.
So it kind of helps out in that end too. I mean, it just.
Well, I'll clarify. I only care if it's a reviewer that I like, because there's those reviewers, they dislike everything. They find some fault with everything. If it doesn't have a DC or a Marvel badge on it, they don't like it.
Well, that's because they're paid off by those companies, Luke.
Mm-mm.
Not all of them. Some of them they're just fanboys.
No, I got you. There are people that are literally looking for anything wrong that they can throw out at a book. I've read some reviews of books that I really liked that were just super petty, or I was just like, if you had actually read the book, a lot of your complaints would have been validated here. But it's very clear that you maybe skimmed a few pages.
Right.
It's like you very clearly did not read this.
Now, I was going to ask, and going back to Elysian Fields with your research and everything on here, because we kind of touched on this a little bit, and you brought up about the Iliad, which I strongly agree because I am a huge, huge fan of Greek mythology. So I'm right along with you on that one. However, I want to ask, how did you go into more research? Because the Iliad wouldn't be the only way that you do that. You had to go into more. So what else did you do?
So like history and mythology have been a passion of mine my entire life. So there's already been like years of research and everything that I've done on my own that applied into it. There are things that, like, for instance, I'm not as familiar with Mesopotamian mythology, for instance. So like when I was coming up with Team Nergal, which is Gilgamesh and Enkidu, it was really difficult for me to pick out because I wanted to make sure that each hero that I picked was human and not just gods, because there are a lot of mythologies like Norse mythology. The majority of characters in Norse myth, the heroes in that are also the gods, and so it's that whole thing where you have to go through, and so like, you know, I've done a lot of research on that, and there's obviously been research into make things a bit more unique. One of the big things that I'm excited to play with, that I've been doing a lot of research on, is the we're going to be having the Gaelic some Gaelic and Britannic mythology come in, and one of the things that I'm really excited about is I'm going to be having King Arthur in the book, but Arthur is not going to be what he is usually depicted as like the very Christianized version of the story. It's going to be rooted far more in Welsh mythology, which is something that I ended up a little bit on with. I'm a huge Bernard Cornwell fan, and my favorite books that he wrote were this series called The Warlord Chronicles, which was his version of Arthur. And so a lot of my inspiration for how I'm going to be handling Arthur came from seeing Cornwell do this very unique take that I feel like is an angle with Arthur that most people don't see. And so I am really excited to be getting into that. And, you know, it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be King Arthur. I feel that people that really know Arthur's stories will be able to recognize that, but it's also going to be this very unique take on the character that people haven't seen before. And that's another thing that I'm hoping to deliver with the book, getting people interested in mythology to the point where they look at different stories on these characters. Because that's honestly been one of the funnest parts about doing this book is the research that I've had to put into it. And, you know, obviously you go through and you're reading all the myths, and you're looking up stuff on the internet, trying to figure out like the best ways to handle certain characters and present certain characters.
And so you saying that actually kind of brings up something else, because the only other way that I've really seen where you've actually branched out that much with the different forms of deity and everything on there was Neil Gaiman with American Gods. So that's huge, as long as you're able to go into it and keep the momentum going. See, the problem with American Gods is it was straight out of the gate. It was like, this is new, this is different, and I can't get enough of this. And then all of a sudden it was like, you're just trying too hard now. Now you're just throwing in deities that I know had nothing to do with anything around any of this, would never have had anything to do with this. And it just threw me completely off.
So like, and like, that's the thing, is that I'm trying to get a good chunk of global mythologies in there, but I'm also like not stressing about it too much, because like at the end of the day, it's a tournament book. And so while there are deeper things going on in the plot for like main characters, like I'm not going to sit here and try and explain to you why so-and-so is like every god that's participating in this has literally the same goal. They're trying to become the Lord of the Underworld, and there are advantages to having that title, especially for pantheons that are rescending in their following and up above. And these are things that will play into the plot, and it will make and they are actively the things that kind of increase the stakes of the book. But like at the end of the day, I love Neil Gaiman. I do think that I do agree with you that one of his flaws as a writer is that he's very passionate about the things that he writes about, and can sometimes get he can sometimes get lost in trying to showcase the knowledge that he has about those things, because he wants those things to get presented in a way that the audience will care. And sometimes it's a hit, other times it's a miss. I love Neil Gaiman. I think he's very talented, and his Sandman book was great. Stardust is a favorite of my wife and I's. Both the film and the book.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I completely get what you're saying, but I do feel that when it comes down to that, I'd like to say that I try very hard to make sure that the beauty is in simplicity. Like, you should be able to have somebody with no clue about what you're talking about read your book and not feel completely lost. And so, like, with Gilgamesh and Enkidu, while they are very big deals in like the classical community, because Gilgamesh is the first story about a hero ever written, the big thing is, obviously, most people, if you ask them who are Gilgamesh and Enkidu, they wouldn't be able to really tell you. But I'm not going to sit here and try and explain their backstory to you.
Right.
Like, all that you need to know is that Gilgamesh is the first of heroes, and that Enkidu is his companion. And so that's all you know. That's all I throw at you. That's all I plan on throwing at you. Maybe somewhere down the line, I know that one of the big plans I plan on doing for future books is that it'll be a collection of issues of main story, and then there'll be a side story about a side character. And who knows, maybe at one point we can go back and revisit those two characters and do something fun for them on that, and do one of the stories from the Epic of Gilgamesh. But like, at the end of the day, that's much far down the line. And on top of that, I don't necessarily plan on doing it, because, as I said, we did what we needed to do with these characters in this. And as exciting as they are, and as how brilliantly designed Marcelo did on both of them, like, they serve their purpose in the story, which is bringing Achilles to the tournament and establishing that he's a force to be reckoned with in this tournament.
Yeah, and so you're bringing up about, you're giving this little part of the story here just to go ahead and give the names, put them in the tournament and everything, but you're not giving the whole backstory on there.
No.
I wouldn't be worried that people are going to be like, I got to know more about this, because if you actually bring something to a book, and I'm speaking as a fan on this one because I have no artistic talent in my body. Sorry, everybody knows this.
It's all
but
good.
As a fan, whenever I read something and it makes me want to go, I need to know more about this. So I'll do research on the side on something else. As long as you're staying true to the character and staying true to a little bit of the storyline on there, then I am a super fan at that point, because I start keeping up with everything that's going on there, learning more off to the side and going, he touched on that on this one. I like how he's going through with this.
Yeah,
so
that I hope that I convey. I did go through and read the Epic of what we have of the Epic of Gilgamesh, because obviously there have been bits that have been lost to history and time and what have you. But one of the big things that I hope really comes through is, while Enkidu isn't too much of a pronounced character in the books, Gilgamesh comes off as kind of an arrogant jerk. And I really hope that I conveyed that, because I know I did. I just hope it comes off as well as I think it does, because like, I made it a very big point that Gilgamesh is a very prideful and arrogant jackass throughout the time that you see him, and he's fun. He was really fun to write. I think that it's always a bit more fun to write heel characters, because they get to say things that will motivate the audience to hate them. So you kind of get to imagine, like, what would be some things for so-and-so to say that would really make someone be like, man, I really want you to get your face punched in. And so that was kind of my whole approach with writing Gilgamesh, was how many times can we get him to really just get under Achilles' skin and get the audience to not root for him?
Right.
And it was a fun thing to do.
Now, I wanted to ask, why just Indiegogo? Why didn't you go with the Kickstarter on this? What was the thought process on that?
The big thing that I had noticed I looked at both platforms, and while I feel that Kickstarter does have a bit more of an established market, the benefits of Indiegogo outweighed that, in my opinion. You had the for Indiegogo, if you don't reach your flex goal, you still can get the money that you've raised. Was a big thing for me because I knew that I wanted to get this book out there, and the only way I'd be able to do that, of course, is if I had the funds to do it. And so no matter how much money it was being raised, I'm going to be getting those books out to the people that backed. And so Indiegogo allows for that. And then the other big things that had going for it is things like the in-demand option, which essentially turns your Indiegogo page into a online store. And you can have that in-demand option for as long as you want. So long as I think you have to have at least a purchase per month. And that that was the whole thing. And yes, that Enkidu is looking great there, Luke. To piggyback off of Russell Allen's comment there with the Minotaur. They are very similar in nature, and I think that we went with this design because we've got Theseus in the team, and everybody. The big thing that everyone knows about Theseus is the Minotaur. So it was a cool thing to have him going up against another one.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ask, what artists are you currently following or collecting?
So for this book, we have Marcelo Oliveira Costa, who has done all the art for the book. He did the pencils, he did the inks, he did the colors. He did the cover. He's awesome. He's really without him, this project wouldn't have happened. I really looked out. I found him on a freelance site, and his page rate was very reasonable. And so I paid for most of this book out of pocket. And we've already reimbursed what I have spent on it, and it's really just great. And he's done phenomenal work. For an additional artist that we've obviously picked up for this book is we have a pinup that will be available for all the deluxe tiers of the book, done by the very talented Jim O'Reilly, who I met on a Indie Vault stream for Geekgasm here about a week or two ago, and he offered us like, hey, if any of you guys want pinups for your books, I just get a hold of me and we'll talk. And so, I didn't really have any stretch goals or anything going on, and I wanted to do a nice thing for everyone that had backed us so far, and I figured it'd be a really cool thing to add to the deluxe packages of the book, that you're not just getting a signature at that point, you're getting something cool. And so Jim is working on that, and I know that he has an idea of what he wants to do. You just got to get it down on paper. And I'm really excited because Jim's work is awesome.
I'm aware.
When we were doing the live stream, he was working on the Mojo Risen cover that he's posted up on Facebook, and he showed it to us, and we were all blown away because yeah, I did this digitally, and everyone was just like, you did what? That looks like a straight up like pencil drawing. Like that looks like a hard copy. What? I was like, yeah, no, not a big deal. And I was like, it is a big deal. That looks awesome. And he's just super talented dude. And then the big things that I've been doing with the success that we've had on this initial campaign, the big thing I've been looking at is been getting some talent for future books. And we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but we've got a few people coming in to do variant covers on the next book, and well, I'm not going to say just who they are at this point because we haven't signed anything yet. but we do have some really, really big people. At least one of them is a really, really big name and has a very successful crowdfunding campaign right now that looks just awesome. And we'll be I'll be having more conversations with him here to iron out the final details. And when the moment that he is paid and he is starting on the cover, we will probably announce it on the campaign.
Very nice. Yeah, you definitely got a good setup with it. It's got a good foundation. The storyline is there. The artwork looks on par. I love how on the crowdfunding you actually do from pencils to inks to color. I like how you do the different panels that way.
Yeah, and that was a lot of that had to do with I started this is my first campaign, so a lot of things I was doing just as learning and going along, and we didn't have a lot up there. And so I wanted to keep people interested and keep people coming to the campaign. And so what I had set up was like every single time we hit a new benchmark, every single time we hit a new benchmark for our campaign, I would check in with like Marcel. Whenever I got something new from Marcelo, I'd be like, okay, I would check and see how close he would be to finishing it on the complete end of things. And I'd be like, okay, so we've reached this benchmark. Within the next day or so, I'm going to post up the full thing of page 1, or we're going to post up character art, or we're going to post up this, that, or the other. And it was a really good way to keep people invested, even though we didn't really have much up there initially. And then once we had enough, I had all the pages put up front and center on our page. After I got a little bit of advice on that from Douglas Ernst, who did Soulfinder Demons Match, which is an incredible book as well. He's actually a backer of our campaign, which I was super humbled by. I was doing a review for his book, and we got to talking about my campaign, and he has to check it out, and he gave us a lot of feedback and was really helpful, and he backed us. And it's really cool to have someone of that caliber backing us and giving us advice and just helping out. And that's honestly been like the biggest thing for me here. I've had so much great support from so many of these guys, and I've been super fortunate. Like even Luke, Luke has helped out more than I can even express with this campaign, beyond even just the lettering standpoint. You know, he's, as he mentioned, he's the project manager of his own publishing line, Starcross Comics, and so he was talking to me about printing stuff, and at the time, the only things that I had seen were I was looking online, and printing companies online were like, you need to order in bulk for this amount, and it would cost around $2,000. And Luke was just like, that's a load of horse crap. Here, these are the people you need to contact and what have you. And he saved me so much money. And because of that, we're now, we were already doing really well on the campaign, but we're now well into profits because of the things that Luke has helped me with. And so this campaign has been just such a vast success because of all the people that have come in on the industry side of things and really just helped. And I could not express how grateful I am enough.
And I just want to go ahead and backtrack and go ahead and pinpoint, because you had already touched on it, and I was going to bring it up, but you already brought it up. This is your first campaign, and you're sitting on halfway funded on here with a flexible goal, of course. You're over $5,000.
Yeah.
And still moving. I mean, it's still got momentum on it. So, this is not one of those things. You see a lot of people who do their first time deal, and it's like, oh man, I only made 2,000. I guess I need to try it next time, do a little bit better. I'm still having to out of pocket quite a bit on this. You're actually doing really well for a first time setup on this.
We have been very fortunate. As I said, we've had I've had a lot of support from the indie community. People like Luke, Rob Anderson, Dave Brink, these people that have constantly been pushing my book and helping. Ted Lehman, another great talented artist, has been constantly sharing my stuff. Scott Weldon from Harlan Buck has been sharing the campaign all over the place. We've had so much support on that end, and then of course, family, friends have been super supportive because they know that this is a lifelong dream of mine. And then we've been doing what we can, and it just every little bit that I've gotten helps, and I've treated this honestly like honestly preparing for a war campaign. It's just every single place that I could talk about it, I went and talked. I was nonstop on my laptop and my phone for the first few weeks of the campaign, and I got yelled at a lot by my wife about it.
Running a campaign is a lot like a job, dude. It's like a full-time job.
It absolutely is, and I'm at a job where I do 12-hour night shifts, and so what it would be is that I would go, I'd be at work, and I'd be promoting while I was at work because we don't do anything at my job really. We just kind of sit around and wait for people to come through, and it's night, so don't really have that as an issue, and so I would just be promoting all through the night, and then I'd get home, I'd sleep for around 3 or 4 hours, and then be up again, and it'd just roll right back into it. It was constant. It just never ended. And the results speak for themselves. And you put that much out there, it comes back tenfold, and we've been doing really well. And we've had a few people that have generously donated a lot. I know that a close friend of mine from high school donated a sizable chunk, and I was like, I can't accept this and without doing something extra with it. What do you want to do? And so what we're actually end up doing with it is we're going to be donating 25 copies because that's how much his thing covered in addition to his books, to a veterans hospital. We're going to be going to the Walter Reed Special Forces Clinic because my dad is a head of a SF chapter, and we're getting all that finalized. And we're going to be handing out 25 of the copies to soldiers there that are at the hospital. So
that's very nice.
I grew up in a military family, and I served 6 years, and especially during times like this, it's one of those things that just nice to do, and give these guys a bit of a reminder that they're being thought of.
Yeah, no, and thank you for your service. Before I forget and we move on to something else, definitely.
I did my time in. It wasn't super exciting. I was Army National Guard, and we did go on a deployment, but it was to nowhere crazy. We just kind of stared at the sand for 12 months, but it was just one of those things where it gave us an opportunity to do something really cool, and I am looking forward to going around and giving those out, and it gives me a chance to see my dad again too, which is always good times.
There you go, absolutely. Now, Luke, with hybrids, how did you go about getting the research on that one? Because I'm going to go ahead and give you a plug on this one as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, with hybrids, I actually spent a lot of time in research. Some people out there that are watching might know, but I am full-time in ministry, and so that's kind of what I do. I'm a full-time pastor. And a long time ago, we would have these great conversations with a guy that I served under by the name of Jeff Evans, and we would have these just really intriguing conversations about this one particular verse in Genesis, in chapter 6, where it talks about the what it calls the sons of God coming down and seeing the daughters of man and having babies, and those creatures becoming the Nephilim. Well, the more you research that scripture, you realize that it's not just mentioned in Genesis in the Christian Bible. It's actually mentioned in a lot of different religions, that particular instance. And then there's people that actually think that that event is what sparked Greek mythology. So a lot of this other stuff, they believe that all of those were actually just exaggerations of stories, real life stories about the Nephilim. And so I started to do a lot of research every book I could get, every version of the Book of Enoch I could get, every reference that was throughout history about the Nephilim, or kind of things that kind of predated the Greek gods, everything I could read about the Greek gods. It took about 10 years worth of dedicated research to get everything. And if you, here's some a fun little tidbit. Did you know that many of the kind of alien stories and things like that connect with that maybe aliens aren't extraterrestrial, but they're terrestrial? There's some instances where Columbus recounted that he saw this thing flickered like a candle that came out of the sea as he was making his travels over here, flew for a while, and then submerged back down into the water. And if you read some of the alien conspiracies, you'll hear stories about that they believe that there's underwater runways for these crafts and stuff like that. And so a lot of these things start to overlap and start to connect with one another. And the more you find that maybe everything has a thin thread that connects it all. And so that's kind of what we explore with that book, based on, like I said, about 10 years worth of research.
Absolutely.
So,
now, you mentioned about connecting, so I'm going to go ahead and ask the question that I'm sure other people will probably be thinking about as well. Will we be seeing connecting between hybrids and Elysian?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I mean, it's definitely something that we could play with. I would never say no to anything like that, because that would be fun. I had a great time reading hybrids, and there's certainly stuff that we could play with that, because it's a story that crosses all sorts of different theologies and mythologies and what have you. But ultimately, it would be a whole thing where we'd have to sit down and figure it out, and
it would be very hard. They exist.
Yeah, it would be very hard, because they're very different concepts. We might be able to do a whole thing where a few characters get from each book get kind of teleported into an alternate universe kind of deal where they all have to fight to get out of it. But that's the only way I could really see it going, and it would be a one-off thing that wouldn't be in continuity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it would. I wouldn't say no to it. That'd be a fun thing to do, and I know that I have been talking to a few people about crossover stuff. But I mean, working with Luke has been a blast, so I would certainly never be nope, never going to happen. It would just the right story, the right situation would have to come up, because I don't want I don't like when companies in the main line do crossover stuff and it's all just half-baked nonsense. At the end of the day, yeah, it's cool to see these characters cross over together and interact with one another, but I don't want that to happen and it to just be this hollow experience. If we're going to do that, I want it to be something worth paying the money for. I know that Luke has a fantastic product, and I'm really happy with Elysian Fields. But if we did do a crossover, and I'm sure he agrees with me on this, we'd have to make sure that it was an airtight concept that we could do. It'd be outside of continuity, and it would. But first and foremost, it'd be something that felt cohesive and organic to both of our universes.
Yeah, it's always about the story. If the story doesn't get served, then there's no point in doing it. So yeah, exactly. It would definitely have to be that.
And that is something that we could definitely talk about in the future. I would have a fun time with it. I'd like to see Trash Man go up against Heracles. Be a good time.
Trash Man's a fun character.
Talk about have Heracles kind of maybe mistake him for Zeus for a second.
Yeah,
he's got the lightning stuff and the blank eyes. And maybe mistake him as a potential sibling. That would be fun. I'd have a good time with it.
Yeah, there's some things that could be done. I could see with that. It's definitely something y'all would definitely have to talk about. I'm just thinking because whenever Luke mentioned that it was actually the arc into Greek mythology, I was immediately like, that could be interesting.
And that was actually one of the things that drew me to his campaign in the first place. Was I've done, as I said, we've done a lot of research and everything for each of our respective projects. And when I saw the whole concept of Nephilim and what have you, Nephilim was always something that I thought was a really cool concept. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is the Prophecy series. And so the concept of like the angelic anthologies and what have you were things that I was really big into for a very long time. And so when I saw the crossover of Nephilim into Greek mythology, that was always something that I had really liked seeing the theories on whenever I did research for anything in my studies and what have you.
Yeah, and I often have to remind people that the Greek gods don't exist in my world like they would in Mike's, because his is actually based on those characters.
Yeah.
Mine's based on the fact that those characters were derivative of real life characters.
Yeah.
So like an exaggeration. So like the Zeus character is a lot different in my world than it is in his. It's not actually Zeus. The Achilles character is way different. It's not really,
it would be more of like in Luke's universe. I guess the best way to put it would be for like people that to understand it the best way possible. The way gods are seen in Luke's universe is very similar to kind of how the MCU approached Asgard, where it would be these people are very powerful beings that people mistook and worshipped for gods at one point in time.
Right.
And
Odin, no pun intended, has a very good grasp of what my world is.
So that's the whole deal with that. Whereas like in my book, these are the genuine deal. Every single pantheon member that you see is a legit god, and they each have their own motivations and why they're in this tournament and what have you. And some of them are more genuine than others, and you've got other gods who just want to win for the sake of, well, I think I'm the coolest guy around, and why shouldn't I be? And that's always a fun thing to play with. I think probably one of my favorite matchups that I'm really looking forward to write is, and I'm sure it's the one that everyone's going to be waiting for, is when Team Odin Freya go up against Team Hades. So when you have the Norse and Greek pantheons collide in a fight, it's gonna. I have some pretty fun stuff planned out for that. Because I've got to rep my heritage a bit, so it's gonna be a really big deal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, I love the concept of the storyline and all, and what all it is, and then the research that you put into it, because you're dead on with that. Because, like I said, I'm huge into Greek mythology, so you're mentioning all these names and places and things, and I'm over here going, yep, that's acceptable. I'll go with that. Yep.
Yeah, and that was again, that was one of the big things for me, was especially with handling the Greek side of things. These are characters and stories that I grew up loving and researching. For a long time, I was a double major in history and classics. So like these are characters that I'm very familiar with, and I feel that, as I said, as much as they have been depicted in mass media, they've never been depicted right. Mainly, and this goes mainly with like Achilles, but even like Heracles. I feel that there have been people that have come very close to getting Hercules right, and then there have been other people that have tried doing Hercules and they completely missed the mark. I love the Disney animated movie, but like that's literally just an animated version of 1970 Christopher Reeve Superman.
Exactly.
That's all that is. That is not Hercules one bit.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the story of Hercules is not something you'd be able to make a kid's movie out of. No. It's very violent and it's very tragic. And what have you, and him as a character is somebody that I feel that from a modern standpoint, people would like kind of tilt their head at and be like, he's considered a hero, because as much as Hercules has done all these really cool and awesome things in his stories, he's also done some absolutely horrific, like borderline war crime things. as well. And like that's again one of those things that I'm looking forward to play with is the fact that these are heroes of their time. You cannot look at these characters through a modern scope. You're going to have to take yourself a bit out of that in order to really appreciate who these characters are. And as much as I make it accessible to everybody, because I don't want anybody to be like, oh, I don't really get what's happening. At the same time, there are going to be characters that are protagonist level characters that people are going to be wondering why these people are considered heroes. And you know that the ethics and what have you of each of these characters is very, very different to what we consider to be the ethical standards of today, because that's the world they lived in. And I think that's something that gets passed over far too much when we try to make these adaptations and what have you. Is we don't these people don't commit to what these characters really are, and it's something that I think is a shame, because these characters have become immortal essentially by their stories being passed down for what they were.
Yeah.
And so why change that? Like, allow them to be the characters they are, because the characters that they are interesting and have inspired people to do crazy things for millennia. Alexander the Great conquered most of the known world with a copy of the Iliad under his pillow because he wanted to be Achilles.
Yep.
Like the people, you cannot negate the impact that these stories have had on humankind. And that's one of the big things with writing this book was just, I wanted to get, while I of course take artistic license here or there, I wanted these characters to feel authentic to what they are. And that's been a big thing that was fun with writing Achilles was showcasing this character that, every single time you see Achilles in the books, he's in movies and in TV and what have you, he's this jacked, like late 20s, like in the prime of his physical condition guy, and what have you. And I'm just like, if you go by mythological timeline, Achilles was between the age of 13 and 16 when he went to Troy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a kid.
Yep.
He was a child soldier. And by the time he died, he was maybe like 23.
Right.
Like, he's like you have things with the relationship with him and Patroclus, like all these things that aren't portrayed correct, or if they are portrayed correctly, there's 20 million different problems with the rest of their portrayals. And there have been bits and pieces, I feel, that other people have done that come really close. I think that probably from I am not a huge fan of the movie Troy because, as I said, Iliad, bedtime story growing up, and seeing what they did to the Iliad and Troy really made me upset. But right. The way they handled Brad Pitt's Achilles,
it was Hollywood,
from like a combat standpoint, watching how Achilles moved and how he fought and how he literally feels like the most indomitable person in the movie. Like,
exactly.
You have Ajax in there who's like 12 feet tall and has that ridiculous hammer thing and looks more like a Celtic barbarian than a Greek. Like, even with him in there, you watch one fight scene with Achilles and he's got everyone's number. And like that, I feel that Troy handled very well. I don't think that they handled his personality well at all. He's way too philosophical and not near enough of a brash jerk. Then you go into Troy Fall of a City, which handles his personality pretty well, but got the aesthetic completely wrong. And was initially something that I remember when they cast Achilles in the show, and I'm reading about it and getting real mad because they had a very and guy was super talented, did a great job, but they had a black guy playing him, and I was just like, Achilles is actively described as having fiery red or blonde hair and everything. How are you going to make that work? And on top of that, he's from Greece. This doesn't make sense. But it was really funny because when I watched Troy Fall of a City and how they characterized Achilles and how they treated his character, it was awesome. I remember there's a line that he has in it where like Odysseus is trying to get him to come back and he's like refusing to fight. But I felt it was like the most in character line for Achilles that I've ever seen in anything. And like Odysseus is like, why are you doing this to yourself? You very clearly want to be back out there in the battle. I know that you miss it. And he's just like, it's not the battle that I miss. It's the quiet. And he's
Right.
like the moment that I go up against an opponent that's actually worth something, and the din of battle stops and everyone pays attention right before I take their life from them. And I just go, that's him.
Yep.
That's certainly him. And so it's just like, I feel that there have been so many portrayals that have come so close or just completely missed the mark. In like the case of when they had the pro wrestler play him in that old Helen of Troy miniseries.
Yep.
And you had the kneel to Achilles. And I was like, oh God, no. But like everybody he's a character that gets portrayed a lot and they never do him right. Theseus is a character that's barely been portrayed. In fact, he is a character that they have taken his feats, his deeds, and given them to other things. I remember the old movie Time Bandits had Agamemnon kill the Minotaur. I was like, I guess Theseus just isn't cool enough. I was like, cool, just give that to literally one of the worst people in Greek mythology. That's great.
Exactly.
Agamemnon.
Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to point out on screen right now because Luke has been just working up a storm on here, and I just want to point out how much detail is going into this because I've seen a lot of hair going on here.
Dude looks great, man. Like look at the veins and the muscle there. Too.
I know.
That's awesome. This is so cool. Oh man. Hold on 1 second. I actually just got a message from Jim, speaking of the devil.
Uh-oh.
I might have to screen share something here in a sec. Hold on. Well, internet's not doing me any favors right now, so I guess we're not screen share because it's not loading. But Jim just sent me what I assume is like his bear model for what he's going to be doing for our pinup.
Okay.
But it's not loading. So unfortunately, sorry guys to tease you. But
now you're talking about the Jim O'Reilly pinup that goes with any deluxe that you get on there, correct?
Any deluxe tier of the book is going to be getting a pinup that is the art has been done by Jim O'Reilly, and I'm very excited to see what he's got going with that. Like I said it before, I'll say it again. Jim's a hell of a talented dude, and his art's awesome. If you haven't checked out, been paying attention to Mojo Risen, anyone, you need to be doing that. Like the story sounds really cool, but like Jim's art alone is reason to be following that project.
Yes, and Mojo Rising coming out June 2nd. And yes, I know a little bit about that project.
I am aware. I know that you did an interview here about a week or two ago, I think. Product speaks for itself. But yeah, to go back to Elysian Fields, Luke's doing a great job with Enkidu there. We are actually going to be doing a raffle on a print of this. I talked to Luke about it, and he agreed. And so what we're going to be doing is we're giving everybody a chance till this upcoming Thursday, which is the 1 week left mark in the campaign. And what I will essentially be doing is every single person that has contributed has been assigned a number by Indiegogo, and we'll be using a random number generator. And whatever number we come up with between 1 and the max number of contributors that we have for physical copies of the book, will get this. We'll get a print of what Luke's drawing here today.
Excellent.
So if you were smart and got the deluxe copy, not to throw shade at those people that didn't, but if you were smart and got the deluxe copy, you'd be getting 2 prints if you win. And this print's looking great.
Yeah, I'm just my jaw's on the ground watching him draw this thing.
Luke's a really talented dude. As I said, he did a cover for Cat Dad and Supermom here for our bud Rob Anderson, and it was just so cool. And that's another great book.
Oh yes,
I was actually really Rob let me read one of the stories from it at one point, and I immediately backed his campaign because I want stories like that for my son.
I do believe that's going on Indiegogo soon too.
Yeah, it's actually, I believe the Indiegogo is already up, and he's already reached the in-demand perk.
Has he?
I think so.
I haven't quite gotten to my in-demand perk yet for hybrids, so I'm still crossing my fingers on that one.
You're
well,
good.
You have one more backer to get you there because I just did it, Luke.
Oh, did you? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll probably throw some more money your way here once I get paid next as well, because we support each other here.
Yeah.
Now I will say
that go ahead, Phil.
Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to let people know that I also do a like this right here. If anyone's interested in buying the original of this, I do that. So I know even though I work digital, like, well, how do you do originals? Well, here's how I do originals. I talked with another artist who had been doing this for a while and had moved over to the digital form. What I do is I print this off and I sign one of one on there and put my signature. So I never print another one. It becomes the original. So if you want to inquire about that, you can either get a hold of me or Michael.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I could also, what we could do is we could sell that up we can put that up on the Indiegogo as well. And put that as a thing, purchasing the Luke Stone original.
I think it would go.
It's weird drawing something that I letter.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job. I certainly not going to be able to throw much critique at it. It looks great. I like the fact that you've got it from like the POV of Achilles as like an arm, so you can see them about to go at it. But
you'll see him lose. That's what you'll see.
I'm not gonna say anything because that's the thing. As I said, Enkidu doesn't really fight Achilles. They do have a bit of a. I don't want to give away anything from the next book.
Don't do that.
No.
And that's my whole thing. Is it's just like they do have a little bit of a confrontation. It's just there's not much to it. But this is really cool.
Yeah, being able to see your work, actually take form and become a living, sentient organism at that point is I'm sure that's got to be the coolest thing in the world, because you're sitting over there and it's something that's been in your head for all this time. You've actually put it to paper. You've got it going and everything. Luke's over here drawing it as we speak, and just getting more life to it.
Goodness gracious. This is so awesome. This is this has probably been like one of my favorite things about getting into the indie community, just seeing all the talent.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just like, man, how are these guys like? It really shows kind of the state of the current industry. It's like, how are guys like Luke getting passed over by mainline books? Like, look at that art. You can't tell me that there wouldn't be somebody who'd want to pick that up.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I look at things like the new Warriors that Marvel put out, and I'm just like, this looks like 20 times better than any of the characters that were put out on that spread. What are you?
I completely agree.
Indie comics is kind of where it's at right now, guys. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, absolutely. It
is.
Like, there's so much more passion. There's so much more talent.
So let me ask you this. So as far as like what Luke just said with, indie comics is kind of where it is, I could not agree more on that. So what are your aspirations on trying to get these books? And I'm talking about yours, Michael, and I'm talking about yours, Luke, of going into LCSs.
About local comic stores, I actually am already a little bit on top of that. We've got 4 stores interested in potentially carrying the books. I got 3 local and 1 in Ohio.
Nice.
So I talked to Third Eye Comics in Maryland, said that they would be interested. I just have to send them a PDF when it's ready. They'll review it. If it's up to their snuff, they'll get some copies to put in their store. B&D Comics down in Roanoke have also expressed interest, and I have to send them the PDF so that they can make sure that it is appropriate for their store. I've got a few others. So like that's the big thing. And I feel that the more that we get out there, and then obviously once conventions come back, we can go and actually like talk to different stores and what have you, that are vending at those events. We'll be able to do a lot more on that. But I do think that we're going to start getting to a point where the industry shifts to this crowdfunded platform. And I feel that LCs are going to become more of where you get like trade papers and collectibles and back issues from old runs. Because the most profitable comic book stores that I've seen right now are people that primarily do that anyway. Because the newer stuff just hasn't been selling as well, because as we've established, the talent just isn't as prominent there as it has been. And even a lot of those guys, Sean Gordon Murphy just started an Indiegogo for his own project. And, he's obviously going to continue doing his White Knight stuff because it's been very successful. But like at the end of the day, he's already made over $100,000 on his campaign, and that money's all going to him.
Absolutely. Now, not only on the LCS front, but I'm asking also on the online front, because a lot of people weren't even thinking about online sales or online comics or anything like that. And I'm not saying just digitals. I'm saying to get your word, get your information out there.
So I actually have an interesting plan, and we'll see how this goes. I need to do some checking and contact some people to make sure that I'm okay to do this. But one of my big plans for this is Elysian Fields will release and be released completely in these, they've got the 0 issue. And then when we move on to the first storyline, that'll be like the first 4 to 5 issues plus a side story in a square bound trade paper. But when you have the emergence of things like Webtoon, what I am thinking about doing is using Webtoon and releasing bits and pieces of each issue on there periodically, and be like, hey, if you guys want the full story, go purchase at the Indiegogo. If you want if you really liked this, we have a campaign that's about to start. Go check out our Indiegogo to follow for updates. And that way we expand our market, because the people on Webtoons, you've got so many of these guys that are willing to spend like $5-10 to get a package of these coins to get exclusive looks at the next issues and what have you. But like those issues are only like maybe 2 or 3 pages of an actual comic book. If I can say, hey, you glad that you really liked this. If you want to actually read the entire book at once, you can go purchase here. You can go support our next campaign, and the book will be ready by this point. And that way we expand.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that I'm seeing, and again, from a fan standpoint, and it's something that I've actually become more or less a part of as well, is the Patreon deal, because there are some people that I actually go on their Patreon because I get to see behind the curtain before they release anything. Also, I get to now vote on things that they're doing as well, which is amazing because I get to have a say in what's about to come out. It's just really cool doing that.
No, and that's an outstanding model, and I know that for like, YouTubers have been doing it for a while because YouTube has gotten silly with how they handle the revenue. So a lot of the YouTubers, in order to make sure that they don't have to follow YouTube's regulations for getting the revenue from that company, they do Patreon. They get more money that way. The money the money goes directly from the fans to them. It doesn't get split up between between YouTube and what have you. It's a solid model to do it. And like I'm not sure if I'd set up a Patreon for Elysian Fields, but maybe for Nine Realms Publishing, that might be a thing where, hey, we have a few projects that have been submitted to us. We'll get to work on the next one here once we have a vote on like which one you guys are most interested in. Here are the elevator pitches.
Right. And so you bring up about the Nine Realms. That was another question too, is because I know you've already got Elysian Fields is right there. You don't have to tell me names, of course. I'm not going to pressure you on this, but do you have other titles that you want to go ahead and put underneath there as well?
We haven't so the big thing with that is the short of the answer is no, we don't have anyone yet. The reason for that is that I wanted to make sure that Elysian Fields was a success and we had money to invest in it, because my whole idea for Nine Realms Publishing is to get creators who have the passion, have the drive, have what it takes to get a series up and running that I feel would be successful, an avenue to do it. Because there's a lot that goes into doing it. And I'm still learning even from my experiences. There's a lot that goes into running these campaigns, and there's a lot that goes into getting these creative projects off the ground, and it's very intimidating. And so the idea for Nine Realms would be, hey, if you have an elevator pitch, you have an outline for a story, and you're willing to work with us on this, then we will help you get, like, if you don't have an artist, we can help you find an artist. If you don't have this, you don't have that, we'll help you try and facilitate that. And then we're going to help run your campaign. We get a portion of profits from it. You still get the bulk of it. But like that's kind of the whole idea. And so like once we get the money in from the Elysian Fields campaign, depending on how much we make in revenue off of that, it'll go in towards doing more of getting more of those projects. But it honestly all depends on how much we get from this campaign and what we can invest into the next book versus invest into the company itself. And so that's going to be something that we're going to be taking a look at here. I wanted to get this campaign done before we started before I started being like, hey, if you have any ideas and you want to talk to me, I'm willing to have I'm willing to have that conversation. But you had and I'm going, and I know that it's going to be a very difficult thing because there are going to be people who are throwing random stuff at me. But I'm going to be very clear. It's like, if you don't have an elevated pitch and it doesn't look like you're serious,
You'll get a lot of bad pitches.
Yeah. And I'm sure I will, but I also want to have that door open, because one of the big things that I don't like about the current state of the industry is that there is no real good way to get pitches into them, at least of the big two. Like Marvel takes no unsolicited pitches whatsoever.
Well, they can't. It's a legal thing. So here's the thing: because they own the IP, because they own the connected universe.
Yeah.
They can't even look at your character, because if they happen to have a character in development that's similar, then you can sue them saying that, oh, well, you based it off of a character that you saw from me. No, so they can't even solicit at all. I mean,
I understand that aspect, but like even from a standpoint of like, if I had an idea to write a story for a character that you have, I have no way of getting a hold of you to make that pitch. It's not a particularly open process. But back in the day, Marvel used to have these things, and I remember them, where it would be like, hey, we're having a fan writing contest. The person that wins the writing contest, we will use their idea for a storyline in an upcoming thing. And you'd be involved in that. And that's how a lot of people actually got starts. George R. Martin used to write a fan column at Marvel. there used to be avenues for people who were invested and passionate and had the talent to get into the industry, and I don't think that those are there anymore.
Oh yeah, they're certainly not.
And that's what I mean, is that like DC has its writers workshop, but I think that the one for this year was unfortunately canceled due to everything going on, which is understandable. But B, like, DC, you see some of the decisions that they've been making, and it's just like, if you have to make up your mind. You either want to bring in talent for talent's sake, or you want to use people that are just trying to do what's that are just trying to push what they're about. Like,
well, you're going to see them changing a lot of their ways of doing things, because they learned one thing throughout all of this, is that they have right to be scared now, because whenever they went pencils down, indies did not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's my whole thing, is that I genuinely believe that even the mainliners are going to start realizing that crowdfunding is the way of the future, and I think it's going to start with Image. I think that Todd McFarlane still, I believe, is the president of Image Comics, and Todd McFarlane during this whole thing launched a Kickstarter for a Spawn for the remaster of his original Spawn action figure, and grossed almost $3 million.
3.4.
Yeah,
he got my money.
Yeah, he got mine too. That's the whole thing. And even during all of this, Todd was the only head of any of these companies that was vocal on ways to fix the industry, and 90% of it pointed to direct to consumer marketing. Whereas we can't, we literally, we have no one to blame for this but ourselves. We threw all of our eggs into one basket with Diamond. They shut down, and now we went from having limited profits to having none.
Right.
So go ahead.
And it's just, I genuinely think that McFarlane talked about in an interview with Forbes that crowdfunding is something that they've been looking at doing for a while, and I think that's the best way to make sure that you never have anything like this happen with Diamond ever again, and B, quality control. At the end of the day, if your comic book's barely making the flex goal, or isn't turning enough of a profit for you to continue making it, you now have an adequate way of showcasing people are interested in your product. And while that's technically been there before, you now have it as a direct result. Nobody wants your book. Nobody is purchasing it to go to their homes. You need to go, and there can't be any finger pointing about it. It's a direct. You have a direct result of people aren't interested in the story you are trying to tell. We were interested in it. We thought it had potential, but the way that you've been handling it is not conducive in sales. People don't like it. I'm sorry. You're going to have to go.
Yep.
I was going to say that Starcross Comics has been producing comics for the last 20 years. So Joe Spicer is actually really a great guy, and he just had something really unfortunate happen. He moved into a house, didn't know the basement flooded, had his comic books down there, and all the comic books got destroyed. So I think I'm going to try to run some kind of hey, if you've got indie comics or you've got comics that you can donate to Joe Spicer, do it. Because this is one of the nicest guy in the business. He's been doing it for 20 years, and he has not, the only people that are upset with him is people that didn't work or had to get a really, really nice rejection letter. I mean, he's the nicest at doing that stuff, right? So, but anyway, so they've been doing this for 20 years, and most of our books, we've never actually attempted to do Diamond, because a lot of the books we don't feel will benefit from that need. So when Diamond said, hey, we're not going to distribute, we're like, well, we're fine with that, because we distribute direct to this buyer, and we do direct to store. We actually have stores that buy, and we offer a 40% discount off the cover price to all retailers. And, occasionally we'll have someone that's not a retailer sneak in and try to get that price on us. But, we're pretty good about keeping that price just for the retailers. And so we've been doing that. Now, I think Diamond, with what's going on with DC, they're probably going to be looking for smaller publishers again, because they're going to have to round out that catalog. And I think they're going to start giving us a little respect. So one of the things that we're looking at now for the future is maybe taking some of the titles that we have to Diamond. We've gotten a lot of information. That's something that we're researching. We don't know that we're 100% going to make that move yet, but it's something that we're looking at but to be honest with you, crowdfunding and direct to buyer stuff, if you are an indie comics person and you are not developing yourself a mailing list, you are destroying your business. Mailing list is so important. It's like one of the most vital things, and that's kind of where a group like Starcross the big part about that is we have a thing. If you're going to be a part, you're going to get the power of our mailing list, but you've got to share some mailing list. And so we let when someone comes in, we let all of their mailing list people know, hey, you're going to get migrated into this Starcross because you're going to get updates about that book, but also the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can unsubscribe from that. You don't have to get those, but automatically it's, we're going to migrate that over, and then we're going to send that initial out to say, hey, this is what's going on. And you can unsubscribe if you want to, but we have had very few people not want to know what's going on with the creator's publisher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we've had a lot of really great success with that. And we haven't needed Diamond. And most of the people that I know don't release through Diamond. It's not one of the things that is even in our conversation in most days.
Well, and it's very interesting because you mentioned that you think that Diamond is going to be changing their tune. Everything that the CEO of Diamond just had a whole interview where he's talking about, we're looking at shifting towards a more collectible platform anyway.
Yeah.
They don't care.
No.
They have zero regrets off of how they handled this whole situation, which I think is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Because the entire industry's livid with them. You're not because they're professionals and because they you don't want to completely burn bridges. Nobody's flat out said it, but Diamond cost everyone 3 months of books.
Yeah.
And they still owe some stores, actually, to be honest with you.
Like 3 months of potential profits gone completely because Diamond decided to shut its doors. And don't get me wrong, with the pandemic and everything, I understand trying to protect your employees, but you also have a responsibility to these people that you have made contracts with.
Well, we did learn something during this time. We learned that Diamond is only 2 weeks ahead of being broke.
They're not going to get wise about it. It's crazy how some of these companies are don't care that they are literally, they have nothing left. It just blows my mind. I'm like, as much as I'm in this because of the passion I have for these books, there's a business aspect to everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But
see that right there that you just said, the passion, that's what you don't see from the Diamond side of it. And I'm not trying to get into the whole show being about Diamond and all. They are strictly about the dollar sign. That's all that they care about.
Yeah, but and it's just it is what it is. We'll leave it at that. We can, but to circle back towards strategies towards getting it out, getting our material out there. I think that what Luke said about the mailing list is integral. Like that's something that I actually was going to be talking to him about and trying to get some advice on how to handle getting one of those set up, is because the important thing, and McFarlane even said this in one of his interviews, is that if you allow people to break the habit, and if you allow people to not think about your books for a while, you have immediately given them an excuse not to come back.
Exactly.
And the biggest thing that you need to do, and in between each campaign, is give updates for what you have coming next and what's going on with the status of what you were working on. Because most people aren't ready to ship their books out by the time the campaign's over. It's usually there's usually around a month or two in between where the campaign ends and the books actually get shipped out.
Well, it's pretty simple whenever you think about it, because why do you go to an LCS? Why do you go to an LCS instead of just sitting at home, going on to eBay or all these places, buying the books because they're readily available on there? Why do you go to an LCS? For the interaction. Because they go up there and they'll talk to you about it. They'll give you the status updates. They'll talk to you about things. They'll give you input. They'll give you, hey, this is my recommendation. So that's what you need to have, is that same momentum and that same interaction to go ahead and have that relationship with whoever you're purchasing from, to have them as a super fan moving forward.
Yeah. And yeah, like that's the whole thing. The big thing is obviously making sure people are informed. And so mailing lists, I think that I honestly like the one of the, as I had said, Webtoon is something that I've been looking at, because I think that it'd be a cool way, especially with the pandemic that's gone on. There've been a lot of people that haven't been able to contribute and what have you. And if I can give them a way to get a taste of what we've got going, that doesn't hurt me at all, and doesn't and makes them potentially interested in contributing in the future, or even just staying up to date on what we put on Webtoon. Like we have somebody that's willing to vouch for us and talk about our product. And that's one of the things that I really liked about that, is that like I'm considering, breaking my Zero issue down into like 5 or 6 segments and posting each segment up on Webtoon during the summer, to build up to our next campaign, which I plan on launching in September timeframe.
And that actually sounds like a good time frame to do that too, because that way you're still building off the momentum, and it proves that you're actually going to take the time to go ahead and take care of your fulfillment and everything off of this project.
Yeah.
And be able to go ahead and get everybody, books in hands, and then go, hey, guess what? You enjoyed that. Now we're going to move on to this.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, is I want to keep this going as quickly as I can, while maintaining the quality. Like I've written a good chunk of the next storyline. I've already sent Marcelo the script for what is technically issue 1 of the story, and he translated that. And so the moment that he finishes the last page of interior of the Zero issue, he's moving right into it. He'll be starting off with a little bit of concept art, so that he can familiarize himself with characters, and then we'll be right into it. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this, is that I've got a good chunk of where I want my plot line to go plotted out. So it's just keeping up with everything and making sure that we constantly have something to put out there, because the big thing is that if you go too long without new content, people lose interest.
Correct.
They certainly do. Yeah. We're working with Starcross creators right now about that. It's like, look, you're putting out something this year, or else we're going to have to make room for creators that will. So we actually just started taking up submissions for some one-shots, and part of that is going to be an audition process to see who could potentially be a great new creator to work with some of their IP.
I think that's a great idea. That's actually one of the things I plan on doing with 9 Realms, is once we get people in, I plan on doing a very similar model to what I'm doing for Elysian Fields, where we do a one-shot kind of Zero issue to establish their series. And if people are interested and we do really well with that campaign, then they get their series put up to a full order. And so long as they're able to maintain hitting their flex goals and making a certain profit margin, they continue to make their books. That is so cool.
I know. Trust me, I'm listening to everything you're saying. I don't want you to think that I'm not, because I'm just like jaw on the ground watching this thing.
No, we hadn't talked about it in a minute, and he just finished doing the inking part. I was just like, it needs to be said. It is so awesome. That is just incredible.
Wow. And that is a tremendous amount of detail in there.
That is so cool. Oh, I'm gushing.
I think I'm done.
Woo!
Luke, how do you not have carpal tunnel over there?
Dude, I can draw I drew one day 12 and a half hours. Like, this is what I do. If I'm not preparing to like help someone, or if I'm not out serving or teaching or something, I'm drawing, man. I just love to draw.
Wow.
Oh man, that is just so cool.
Line weight is important to me, so I will go in sometimes and fix my line weights on things that are in the foreground.
And you said that the original for this will be for sale, correct?
Yeah,
yeah, we can do that. Luke, just shoot me a full-on picture on that so I can attach it there and put it up that the original will be going on a sale, and then we'll do as I said, we're going to do a raffle for a print do we want to do a raffle for a print or just sell the original?
Do a raffle for the print too. You can get a print and like we'll know that it's a print, and so like I'll do a little border for it to say that like it's a exclusive print for the Indiegogo.
Yeah.
But then you could also just buy the original.
And what do you think would be an appropriate tag for that? Well, what would you normally charge for something like this for a commission?
For this, if I did this as a commission, it'd be $100.
Okay, then that's what we'll put it at.
Yeah.
Really? That's it?
That's it.
Hey,
wow.
If that's the price tag Luke feels is adequate for it, then that's what we're gonna do. I don't want if it is I certainly would be happy to get that for $100.
Trust me, I'm over here going.
It's like,
If you got a character of yours that you want drawn, I will do this for $100.
All right, so yeah, we'll throw that up there for 100, and yeah.
Well, I tell you what else. If you will shoot me, low res, of course, image of this or whatever, and then I will go ahead and do a post and put it up on and shoot it out and spread it all, the word out so that everybody knows, so they can go over there and fight for it too.
Oh man, I have a feeling that this one's gonna go real quick.
Well, the book's about being champion, so who's going to be the champion of getting this bad boy?
Oh man, we'll see.
I like to do some fun stuff like this too. Here, this will make it pop even more.
This is so cool. Now it kind of makes me wish that Enkidu and Achilles had a full-on fight.
You could always do a side mission, like a side book, just with funsies.
Maybe, and that's the whole thing, is that it's very tough for you to do that in a story like this, especially with what happens with the Mesopotamians ends up setting some stakes for the book. So it would be very kind of hard for me to bring these guys back in a future thing, but and this happened when Marcelo sent me the art of Memnon as well, who we have our preview pages up on the Indiegogo, and you see Memnon get killed in the first 3 pages. And I remember seeing Marcelo's concept work for him and just going, oh man, it really sucks that guy dies in 3 pages. He'd be fun. He's so well, that's the really sad thing, is from a creative standpoint, I do all the writing, and so I see all these characters in my head and kind of how I envision them to be. And then I have talented people like Luke or Marcelo, and I go to them this is what I'm kind of hoping for. And then they come back to me and blow me away. And so now I'm sitting there and I already have my story plotted out. And yes, you can make changes to things here or there, but there are certain things that you have to have them stay concrete, or else they lose their value. And it's just one of those things where you look at it, you're like, is there a way? But man, that is so cool. Whoever is going to be chipping in that 100 to get that this Luke Stone original, is, you guys are lucking out. This thing is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and I'll put a stipulation on here. If somebody does, whenever somebody does go ahead and purchase this, I want them to go ahead and do a post on Facebook tagging y'all and having that up there and all, so we can at least see it and all share in it.
You know what? We'll actually put this up for a 115 because what I'll do is I will throw in a signed copy of Elysian Fields with this with Luke's original art.
Nice.
So
That's a good deal, dude. I'm surprised it ain't gone already.
Well, I haven't posted it yet, so
I'm surprised someone hadn't messaged you and say, "Hey, don't worry about posting. I'm taking that deal."
Well, let's check Facebook. I might have. Let's see. Oh man, I am getting a chance to look at Jim's print of what he's working on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to share it just yet because I don't have his.
Oh, that's fine.
But it looks. Oh man, he's certainly coming through on that. It looks really cool.
And that's the one that you get with the deluxe. Any deluxe you get that print that you're looking at.
Oh yeah, that any deluxe version of the book, you should be getting that print.
Okay.
Not this print, Jim's print, right?
No, yeah, no.
No.
Make that very clear for people. Yeah, you'll be getting a better print because Jim is an amazing artist.
Let's see. I'm gonna go, and you know what? We're going to create that update. Right, we're gonna create that tier right now, and then we'll post the image of Luke's print up on there to showcase it the moment that this video concludes. So
yeah, we'll see if it can actually. We'll see if this one sells before we even finish the video, and then we'll see how many people jump on there and go, "Hey, we want to go ahead and do the deluxe." We'll see how fast that goes up.
Yeah, I guess we got a contribution while we were doing this because I'm already up to 5,088.
Nice.
We were at 5,063, I think, before the video started. So whoever you are, you'll get your secret perk soon. So thanks for watching the video. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this campaign editor, and we're going to do perks.
Hey, Rob says hi, Phil.
Is he in the audience?
No, he messaged me just a little bit ago.
Oh, okay. Tell him I said hello back.
Drawing a picture.
Man, that looks cool.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we got 13 days left. You're picking up momentum off of this thing. You've actually done very well so far. We're going to push you up there even further. Like I said, if you'll, I've got some of the stuff that I need, but if you'll send, like I said, a copy of this picture so that I can go ahead and do a post showing this. And you can do it where it's on the desktop if you want to, Luke, or whatever. Just that way it's not, it can't be just printed off directly. But that way I can do a post on there and really push on that.
Here,
I don't think I'm going to have to do much.
Here, we can do a watermark.
That'll work. Yeah, because I don't think I'm going to have to do much. I think by the time my post gets up there, it's probably going to be gone, but at least they'll know that, you can go in there and look at the other stuff, and this is the kind of things to look for inside of there, and you never know what other kind of surprises will be coming out of 9 Realms later.
Make sure I'm just getting everything spelled right because sometimes I'm an idiot.
Look at that. Luke's got it all professional and everything, watermark and all. It's almost like you've done this before, Luke.
Oh, yeah. I've been around.
Now, Luke, I will say there was something I was going to say earlier. I just remembered whenever I contributed on hybrids, the stipulation is I'll be doing a review on those. So I'm just letting you know.
Oh, that's fine. I might listen. But if you want to do a review and an interview, I'll definitely listen.
You know what? I will lock you in on that one, definitely.
Because that's the kind of stuff I like to do. I really would like to talk about the project, talk to the people that read it, talk to the people that might read it.
Yeah.
I just really like to build that relationship. I just feel like sometimes interviews can be so impersonal. Not interviews, but reviews can just be so impersonal. And, you know, I know my work can speak for me, but I like to speak for my work too. Especially like Michael had this one question. He was like, why does it feel like the first one's rushed? I'm like, because it was rushed. It was I was working with a company at the time, and I wasn't, you know, it was one of those things. We didn't have any superhero books, and I kind of had a superhero idea. And so we just did this one issue to see if it would take any traction. And it was like my 4th or 5th comic that I'd ever drawn. I felt like maybe my 6th. I'm not sure at this time, but it was like I was still learning some stuff, new in techniques. I was new to digital art. And I was working on other stuff that was like my main project. So that was like a real quick, like just throw it out kind of thing. Right. And I had to have it in 20 pages. It was originally 22. And I had to knock it down 2 more pages. So I had to like condense the ending and stuff. And so, yeah, it was like a whole thing. And so all the things he was like, it feels like this, it feels like that. I'm like, you're absolutely right. It is. It's all of those things. I already know. You don't have to tell me what's wrong with my book. I already know. Like, you know, he was like, dude, that sucks. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, then we will definitely get you locked in and scheduled on that one. And if you can, please sign the books for me too, because I definitely like having them signed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll do that. I typically don't sign books unless people ask, because not everyone likes signatures on it.
Right.
I mean, you would think they'd want a signature, you know.
I'm the kind that I actually, believe it or not, I know that there's actual pages inside and pictures, more pictures and stuff like that. So it's not just the outside of the book, which a lot of people aren't even aware. So I'd rather have the signature on there that I can still go ahead and open it up, read what's going on and everything, and have that personalization to it.
Yeah.
I am sending you guys some.
All right, so I'm going to wait for the video to finish before we put it up, because I want to be able to make sure that I can put on the image.
I got you right here.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should have it. Yeah.
Do.
You know, so here's the thing. I do a quick draw every week. And so I try to do something like this. And I'm learning that I've gotten to the point where I could do it within 2 hours. My first week, I was like, I'm going to do this in an hour. And I'm like, that's not realistic.
Right.
There's some stuff that I do. I'm like, it's not realistic that I could get this done in 2 hours or 3 or 4 or 5 hours. But I try to like, okay, if I could just limit it to certain things, I might be able to knock this out in 2 hours.
All right. So the perk, that $115 perk tier is up. It does not include shipping, because we're going to probably have to, I'm going to make sure that we get an extra box for Luke's original art, so that it's, so it's not rolled up or anything.
Michael, what area of the world are you in?
I'm on the East Coast.
Okay. I'm also on the East Coast. I'm down in Jacksonville, Florida. So,
well, I'm in Virginia, in the Alexandria area. So we're
okay. So what I'll do is I'll get the print done, like with the 1 of 1, and then I will mail that to you.
Fantastic.
In a box that you can then ship it to someone else in. So
fantastic.
All right.
There you go. That'll work. So you'll not only be getting the original art, but you'll also be getting a cool box that'll be shipped in, and you'll know that it won't be messed up as long as you don't have a really ticked off postal worker like we do around here.
Yeah. And you'll also be getting a signed copy of Elysian Fields when it is ready. So, yeah, I did put the due date by July 2020. So what we'll probably do is I'll ship out the artwork the moment it gets here, and then when we have the if I can talk, apparently I've forgotten if we can have the once we have the issue ready, I will be setting one of those aside for you as well, and you'll be getting that.
Excellent. Now, I will say also that, Michael, whenever I do get your book, I'll be doing a review on that, and I'd like to get you back on the show for that one as well, if you don't mind.
Hey, I will have a blast talking with you about Elysian Fields and hearing you tear me a new one on the book.
I don't think I've torn anyone a new one on any of my reviews at all. I think I've been very good on that.
I'm just messing around. I'm genuinely looking forward to having the feedback, as much as it's like one of those things that's like hovering over me, and it is something that I am nervous about. I am super excited for everyone to get a copy of their book, at the very least, because it's going to be a very high quality book.
Absolutely.
I mean, the art looks good. I think the writing is good. The dialogue and everything is good. You've paced it well. Like I said, I haven't had any trouble lettering this thing so far. It's been pretty easy.
Yeah, and that does give me like a lot of like, I cannot stress enough how much that like made me get really excited, because like you're while you are attached to the book, you're obviously in a position where you kind of, while you're attached, you do have a bit of an outside view, because you're not doing the art, you're not doing the writing, you're doing the lettering, so you're getting to put things where they're supposed to go, and you're getting to see the book come to life in front of you, and so you really are the first impression that I get.
Yeah. Well, as a letterer, what I try to do when I look at a project is, how do I pace? Like, the idea is that when someone opens the book, they're going to read it, and my job is to take what you've done, what the artist has done, and then put the words out there. And lettering is an art form.
Yes, it is.
Which is why, I guess it turns out that I'm pretty decent at it, because as an artist, I always looked at lettering as part of the art. When I draw a page, I think about where the lettering is going to go and how that's going to fit.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing cooler. And I don't have one of my books, but I've got this Astral Genesis by, I want to call him by his real name, but I got to call him by his J Magnum, by his pen name. For me, there's nothing cooler than open up a book and like looking at the letters on the pages with the art and everything. Like, for me, that's like the finished look, and that's what a comic book is. The smell of it, the feel of it. I make floppies not because it's profitable, but because I love to make floppies. I want to have those in my hands. And so as I'm lettering your book, what I'm thinking about is, what's it going to be like for you when you get that book from the printer and open it up? Are you going to be proud of what's inside? How's your reader going to look at it? And so I want to apply the same intensity to that lettering that I would in my own writing or drawing or whatever I do. And it's got.
Let me tell you, man, it is shown. I like every single page that you've shown me so far of the lettering and what have you. Oh man, like it really does it all justice, and it really ties everything together really well. It flows really easy. A good or bad letterer can really make or break a book.
It really can. I'm glad you like it. But kind of back to the point I was going to say is that I can tell in the process of trying to make that part of the art and the book, whether or not the book's going to be readable. And I can tell you right now, as the letter on the letter side, Phil, this is going to be a good book. People are going to like it. I don't know a lot about the whole, like, all the mythology, the Achilles and stuff like that. I know Achilles is kind of a jerk. That's what I know. I know he's arrogant.
American heroes are, but yes, Achilles is kind of a jerk.
when you can't get beaten, you're like, you don't have, you can be, when you're like undefeated, you can be a jerk. I say, it's like the level of jerk that you are is correlated with your talent. And so if you're this much of a jerk, you better be this much of a talent, And so he's got some room to grow in the jerkness, really, because his ability kind of outmatches his attitude, his ego. But it's in there. It's in there well. The whole idea of it's there. The art is really good. I like the story. I like the writing. It drew me right away when I saw it, because I was like, this is kind of in the same vein of where I'm at with the Greek mythology and things like that. And I just like that stuff. And so I think people are going to really like this book when they get a hold of it. And I'm not just saying that because my name's attached to it. My name's attached to it because I feel that way about it.
Right.
My reputation as a creator is extremely important. And I do not attach myself to anyone, whether it be a writer, an artist, a colorer, a letterer. I don't attach myself to anyone unless I believe in the project and the people that I'm working with. And I got to tell you, my name's on the book because I like it. It's not the other way around. So
Right. And honestly, how am I going to have you on my show if I actually don't like it myself? Because then it's going to be a very one-sided conversation that's going on, and I'm just going to be sitting over here going, okay, are we done? We got a little bit of time. Can we wrap this up? I actually enjoy it. So what I've seen so far has got me hooked.
And I'm really glad to hear it. And like, obviously, it's definitely piqued some interest of others as well. And it's one of those really cool things to see the return. And like, this is something that I've loved since I was a kid. And to see that passion become something tangible that people also appreciate with and connect with has been probably one of the greatest experiences of my life, out short of my son being born, what have you. It's been true. As motivated as I was to get this started, I am so much more motivated to keep it going because of everyone here. People like Luke that have taken an interest in my project and have helped me move forward and really understand this industry much more, and helping guide me through it. And people like you, Phil, that have brought me on to their shows to talk about the book and listen to me blabber on about mythology for, we're now going on 2 hours. We're now on 2 hours. So it's really just this very humbling thing for me. I am ecstatic for everyone to get a hold of this book, and I am very excited to start to hear what people think. And we already are having our eyes set on the next project, and we have the main cover for the next book, which will be teased at the end of the 0 issue. And
there's some good news, right? The book is actually going to get in people's hands faster than what you originally anticipated.
Yeah, that was another big thing, was that initially I was doing a whole bunch of this, I was looking at doing the lettering and everything myself, and it was something that I was going to have to teach myself how to do. So I was expecting for this book to come out in October. And now we literally, Marcelo is in the final stretch of the last 5 or 6 pages. And
I didn't want him to have to wait on that stuff. And he was like, well, I'm not going to learn this. And I'm like, dude, I will give you a discount to let me letter the book.
And I was thinking, it's like, oh, okay. I'm not going to argue with that. We now I have, Luke's taught me a lot on how to use Photoshop and everything. I've learned a lot of useful skills there with that. And so I have all of our credit pages in the art gallery done. And so literally all we're waiting for is Marcelo finishing up the interior and Luke doing the lettering, which I think, based off of the pace that Marcelo's been doing his art will be done here in the next 2 weeks or so. And then, we should have the book fully lettered and everything by mid-June.
Probably a few days after I get the last page, we'll probably be able to.
After that, it's just getting the print file ready, and then once we have the PDF, I'm going to be sending the advanced PDF out to the comic book stores that are interested in carrying it, so I can know how much I expect to ship to them. And then we're doing really well. The moment, sorry, I'm going to turn that off.
Michael, I got to say, I'm really proud of you, because it's been a really smooth first issue. I'm like, this is a pretty good first issue. You're managing the process well. I'm like, yeah, you've gotten a hold of people, taken the input from people that you needed to, and things are moving really smoothly. So
it was funny because the other day I was checking in with Luke on timelines, and I was just sorry if I'm a bit pushy about this. I'm literally expecting the ball to just blow up in my face at some point, because everybody talks about the first issue is going to be a rough experience. And don't get me wrong, it's been there have been moments where it's been super stressful, but none of it has been on the administrative end, which I'm very grateful of. As I said, I'm just waiting for something to go wrong, but we have a great printer that Luke recommended to me with Hero and Villain Design, and they've been super awesome.
They're awesome.
They're really good.
They are.
And I want to throw them some props here, because I told them that we were donating 25 copies to the Veterans SF Clinic at Walter Reed, and they're donating those 25 copies. They're not charging us for them. And they've just been outstanding. So if anyone out there is looking for a printer for a book, please hit them up, because
if you want some other examples of the work they do all of all the Star-Crossed special covers. So this lava foil, they did this, and then here they did. Here's another type of cover that kind of has electric shimmer to it. Here's the blinky squares. I like that one too. It makes me happy. And then there's another one of the shimmery ones, and then finishing off, you've got the red, the blue lava. Now you got the red lava with Azazel in the front. And then we even did for, if you go to my Indiegogo, which sorry, Michael, I don't want to hijack your
dude, you are
your
fine.
pitch here.
I've been blathering the entire time while you've been drawing. Please get some promo.
But we've got you can get all 6 of these issues right here. And so here this is a special edition mini comic that has a story in it that is about one of the characters that you meet in the very last issue. And so you kind of get some side story because she becomes kind of a main fixture in some of the other books in the future, some of the future arcs. But this is one of the best works that I've ever done. And one of the things I'm most proud of. I feel the art is some of the best I've done. I did all the coloring in it too. So some of the coloring is some of the best I've ever done. It was edited by Chuck Pino, and which many of you will know his name. He's an amazing editor, and he did a great job helping me with this. And this is a nuanced, layered story in 7 pages. You get 8 pages of content because there's a nice pinup in there, but you can get this as well. This is there's only like 15 of these, 25 of 50 of the standard ones, but there's only going to be a max of 15 of these foil covers that are ever made. So I'm not going to make any more after that. And so there are 8 more available on the Indiegogo right now. So if you go to indiegogo.me/@/hybrids5, you can pick up that and see this dude's work, because the guy that's printing these is the guy Michael's talking about, the dude that donated the 25 copies going to the soldiers. And so he does amazing work. You can see firsthand the work that he does with these, because these will ship out relatively quickly. So I'm done with that. But yeah, you can see his work. These are cool. I'll show this again.
I didn't have it to get the foils, unfortunately, because those are pretty. Yeah, those are shiny.
It's expensive. These are very expensive.
Yeah, but they're worth it. I mean, for what you're charging on there is definitely worth what you're getting.
Yeah, and you also get 1 through 5 standard edition, so you've got readers. So I know you may not want to read these, and then you get the full digital tiers as well on there. So if it's so you get the entire digital deluxe, plus you get the 5 issues, plus you get a couple extra physical perks with it, and then you get these books, which are. I'm just in love with that. Look at that. That is so freaking cool.
You did your post and you had them laid out and you showed the picture with that on there. And I was that was before you even came on here today. And I was looking at it going, wow, that is actually very cool looking. And then of course you're showing them to me now and I'm going, man, your post doesn't do anything for those.
No, it doesn't. And so here's the thing. Elysian Fields is going to have a similar cover, right? So it's like the nice special. So when you get this thing, not only is it going to have a great interior, it's going to have a killer cover too. So I mean, you
know what? I goofed up because I actually do have my my sample cover down here. Oh, is this it right here? Oh, it's not. If you guys give me 2 seconds to disappear,
go find that thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
So he has a sample cover for what it's going to look like, and so when you guys see this, you're going to be like blown away because the cover is cool. You know, I mean, the interior is cool. I don't know if anybody has seen any of those on the Indiegogo. You can see some of the interior covers. The artist did a great job. I will say the letterist is doing a great job as well. I really feel like he rounds out the book and makes the, just kind of puts the cherry on the top of that sundae. But what
was the letterist's name again? I forgot. What was his name?
I don't know.
Someone unimportant.
Duke Loan or something like that.
Something.
All right. So here I have the sample cover. I had a few different sample covers printed, and then I asked everybody which one they thought that was the best, and we went for the Magma. And I think you'll see why here in a second.
Oh, so cool!
Wow.
Yeah. See, that's
this is what you'll be getting.
Yeah, that's the same that we got on the. I got 2 covers with the Magma. I got the Lava and the Magma. Man, the Magma I just think is for that cover just really pops.
Yeah, no, like it's just like you can't argue with it. Just so pretty.
Yeah.
So that's the one. That's the one I'll be getting. That's the deluxe. That's the cover and everything. That's
every single physical tier of the book will be getting that cover.
Nice.
And they will be as a thank you for helping us with this first issue and getting it off the ground and what have you. Everyone is getting this, and this book is only going to be this version of the book will only be printed for the people for this campaign and the stores that purchase it. We will be selling 0 issues later, but it will not include the art gallery, and they'll be standard floppies. This is a special thank you for every single person that has helped us with this campaign and getting us moving, because without you, we didn't have a product. And as a dedication for being people that were there with us from the beginning, this is your reward. You're getting the pages are going to be glossed. The cover speaks for itself, and you see Marcelo's art, and then on top of that, you get like a solid 6-page art gallery of Marcelo's concept art that shows it going from pencils to inks to colors.
Now, how many total pages? So it's 24 pages of story, right?
Yeah, I believe.
And also 6 pages of art.
Yes, and then the credit pages, I think everything comes out to 32 pages in general, plus the 4.
Wow. Man, that is a great value too for what you're getting with a special cover with the extra pages in there. There's just
and then for the deluxe backers, you get a print from Jim, and it looks awesome. I did get it, as I said, I did get a chance to look at what he's doing, and you guys are in for a treat. The moment that it's at a point where I feel like Jim would be okay with me sharing it, we'll post up the pencils and inks up on.
Oh, absolutely.
On our thing, and I'll make sure that I'll tag you in that. And then Phil, as I said, once we wrap up here, I do got a special sneak peek for you as a thank you for having me on here today.
Absolutely.
You have already contributed to the book, and you should be getting your secret perk here as well.
Excellent. Hey, I've had a blast having y'all on here today. We've had a lot of fun with this. Luke, amazing job on the artwork there. I mean, that's above and beyond what I ever expected in just a draw, just a chat and draw, basically.
I cannot express how freaking awesome your work on that, Luke. That is so cool. And you hit it out of the park. Like, honestly, your artwork does a great tribute to Marcelo's as well. For what he did for his initial design. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun to draw it. So
now I'm going to go ahead and kind of go around here. We're going to give last audible shout outs if you want to on here, and I'll have the links attached to as well on both the YouTube, and then I'll attach them on the Facebook afterwards. But we'll go ahead and start with you, Michael. Let me go ahead and give you full screen if you'll tell us who you are, where to find you, and what you're doing.
Hey, how's it going? Well, you already know who I am. My name is Michael Oden. I'm the creator-writer of Elysian Fields. You've heard me, ramble about mythology for around 2 hours now. And we are at Indiegogo for Elysian Fields. We also have our Twitter, which is Elysian Fields _0. And we will have a 9 Realms publishing Facebook up here within the next month or so. And then... I'm going to hand it over to Luke.
All right. So, Luke, if you'll go ahead and let us know, same thing.
Yeah, you can find me at lukestonestudios.com. From there, you can find me on all the major platforms for social media. You can also go to starcrosscomics.com, see some of the great works that we're doing over there. You can also get some copies of some books and things while you are there. There's a lot of great creators over there that we work with. And again, I don't attach myself to people unless they are definitely worth that piece of my reputation. So definitely check that out. And if you could, please go to https://igg.me/@/hybrids5 and check out the hybrids 1 through 5 first complete arc. I've got several things up there that you can check out, and I've only got I think 15 days left on that, and I need probably about another $50 or so to get us over the mark so I could go into in demand. So I definitely appreciate your help on that. Thank you.
All right, you just heard he only needs like $50 on there. You just go ahead and grab his pack for $100, and you get the real cool, shiny, pretty, amazing looking stuff that I'm going to be very jealous about. But we're going to see you post up whenever you get that online, because we need to see all this and be able to partake in that as well.
And if you mentioned that you found it, that you went to back it on because of Demon Phil, I will throw in a hand-drawn sketch for you.
Holy.
What?
You better go do that.
Did that, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Here we go. Exclusives. I love it. Here we go. All right. Guys, I have had a great time having y'all on here, and I am definitely looking forward to having y'all back on again. Luke, we will schedule something out to get you on for the review and the interview on that. And then Michael, hey, whenever you are fully done with yours and everything, and I get book in my hand and I'm able to review that bad boy, we're going to have you back on and go ahead and do that as well.
I am so excited for it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Thank you, both of you, for being here today. And thank you again, Luke, for going ahead and taking the time to draw that up and get that going.
My pleasure.
And it came out more amazing than I could have expected on that. I was actually expecting more like a remark style, and you went above and beyond. So yeah, it is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you much, guys, and hope to see y'all here again here pretty soon. Like I said, we'll get something scheduled out. Appreciate it much. All right. So I had Michael Oden, I had Luke Stone on here. We had a blast, did the chat and draw, came up with something amazing on there. And yeah, it was above and beyond my expectations on there. Now, I always have something to say at the end to close out the statement. And, today's not going to be any different on that either. I never script anything, didn't do anything today either. So we're going to go ahead and just shoot from the hip on this. I always learn as I'm going through the interview. So what I learned on this is, whenever you're going through and you're actually working with somebody on something or presenting something to someone, you have to provide not only the value of what you're wanting to present out there, but the respect that goes along with it. If you don't have the value and the respect that goes along with it, then whoever you're presenting it to just doesn't really pay that much attention. Now, this is not only in just a business sense, this is going a step further on that. Think about your fans. Are you providing the value? Are you providing the respect? Hey, if you're providing both of those, you got a backer out of me. So that's where I'm going to leave that statement to go ahead and close it out. Demon Field Comics in New Jersey. Keep it indie, y'all.